We call to order the Warrant and Finance Committee meeting of March 26th, 2013. Time in 7:34. First order of business is approval of the agenda. Looking for a motion regarding agenda.
I move we approve the agenda as written.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Thank you. Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as written. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you. There are no minutes to approve, no unfinished business, new business, opening remarks.
While you were out of the room, Paul,
Yeah,
Judy mentioned that we have till, what was it, April 12th? Jen told you?
I think Ted might have gone
He
to
went to call.
check with Jen to be
Yeah,
sure.
make
But
sure.
I'm quite
as far
sure.
as I know, it's always been 30 days from the signing to the town meeting. And if you crimp on that, that causes problems at town meeting. That's my understanding.
I guess all I'm saying is if it's not on the agenda for Thursday for the selectmen, and they don't meet again for another 2 weeks.
Well, then that's their problem, not ours.
well,
Are you proposing that we delay our vote because we will have substantially greater discussion about the budget in coming days?
Well, I'm not sure. I'd never, as long as I've been involved, I've never come to a budget meeting and vote on it the same night. You know, there's always,
Well, this particular sequence of events has been decidedly unusual because of the snowstorm last week that kind of bopped everything back. And the general understanding is that this meeting date cannot be moved. And in fact, we have 4 members, which we haven't had all season.
right.
If we can get 4 members at some future date to do this, I have no objection to waiting until then, but I don't think there's any workshops scheduled until then. We would have to have our own workshop to talk about it.
Right.
If
Well, rest
there's
of the
a-
committee wants to do it.
If there's
vote
a
on it
desire of the committee to do that, and we have legally have some elbow room to do it, I have no objection, but I'm not
My
in favor of it.
understanding, and we better wait till Ted comes back,
Yep,
but as far as I was told by several different people, we had to vote on it tonight because selectmen have to vote on it Thursday
Well,
night.
technically, it would be tonight or tomorrow or early Thursday before they meet. However,
And
we've
since,
just determined that they're not actually planning on signing it, but that would be an interesting problem, if in fact it needs to be
and I
30
don't
days before
see
town
them
meeting.
waiting another week. There's so many bogus figures in this thing right now because the state hasn't made up their mind what we're gonna get.
It's
You
always
haven't
guesswork on the plus
negotiated
side.
with either the maintenance personnel or the teachers. So there's 2 more figures that you picked out of the air.
Which we won't go over.
How can you not go over them?
If we don't have the money, we don't go over them.
Yeah, and you may not have any teachers. I do not understand. School started in September. You should have started negotiations with the different people immediately. There is absolutely no reason why. Here it is, almost the 1st of March, and you haven't settled negotiations. It's ridiculous.
What I was gonna say, Paul, was if the rest of the committee wants to vote on the articles tonight, it's fine with me.
Yeah, I would
Just
be,
surprised me,
I would
that's all.
certainly be in favor of moving forward with the vote at this point, because I don't know of any plans, and correct me if anybody thinks there'd be a value in it, I don't know of any plans to be talking about this budget in coming days. And,
I'm fine.
and if in fact we're not gonna be doing that, then there's no point in not voting now. Okay,
I'm fine with voting on it tonight also.
what do you think? Would you get any value from
No,
No?
I'm okay with voting
both
on
of you?
it tonight.
Okay.
That's what we need to do.
Okay, onward. I think, well, if Ted doesn't come back, then I guess it's kind of moot anyway. Remarks. The primary purpose of this joint meeting of the Warrant and Finance Committee and School Committee is to make recommendation regarding the school warrant articles for school budget year 2013-2014. These articles originated with the school committee as a set of proposed budget figures that were discussed in detail at school committee meetings on January 29th, actually they were workshops, I believe, January 29th, February 12th, February 26th, March 21st, and tonight, March 26th. This warrant was formulated by the school committee and accepted by them tonight, March 26th. All of these meetings were open to the public, with provision given to accommodate any comments, questions, or concerns offered. Those meetings were the proper time to present budgetary input to both the school committee and the Warrant and Finance Committee. At today's meeting, the Warrant and Finance Committee will for the first time be discussing these articles among ourselves, resolving any remaining questions with the assistance of the school committee, which is also in attendance, and then voting our recommendations, which will be duly recorded and placed on the school warrant for town meeting on Tuesday, April 23rd. In order to most efficiently proceed with this task, I ask that any public comment be reserved until after all the votes have been registered. I would like to thank the school committee and my Warrant and Finance Committee colleagues for their calm and professional conduct this budget season, helping to move it forward as well as it can. Thank you. Okay, school warrant discussion and recommendation is the next item. What I propose is this. Ted, before we go on to that, Ted, any clarifications?
Yeah, I just called Jennifer. We could wait till our meeting on the 11th, but she doesn't recommend it because it's putting it too short for the 10 days notice for the
Oh,
public
so
hearing.
it's 10 and
Yeah.
not 30.
Yeah, right. But what we can do, we meet every Thursday anyways. If you feel you need more time, if you can commit to meeting Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of next week, we'll hold a special selectmen's meeting on the 4th, and we'll do our vote that night. And if you going to do that, you should let us know now so we can let Lorraine go home because she won't be recording anything.
Right, well, consensus at this time of the members that are here would be to do it tonight.
Oh, okay.
There's no perceived value in, just due to the fact that we're not planning on talking about it any further than we have at the previous workshops.
Okay.
And incidentally, that does not preclude discussion tonight. What I would like to do here, in order to discuss each of these items, we're going to need to have a motion on the floor. We will then open up discussion, and if there are any detail items that you want to talk about of this large figure that's going to be before us, I certainly expect that you'll bring up whatever you want to bring up, and we can discuss whatever we need to discuss. It is certainly not the intent to drag this meeting on any longer than it needs to, so if you can just stick to things that you feel are really important, that's great. But in order to discuss any of these items, let's see if we can have a motion on the floor, all right? So, moving on, and somewhere is my warrants. Here it is. Okay, Acton School Department, warrant fiscal year 14. Articles 2 through 12, authorize expenditures in cost center categories. Article 2, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for regular instruction. School committee recommends $2,588,048.
I make a motion, we accept the school committee's recommendation.
Second it.
Motion is made and seconded to, actually, what I would prefer is if we actually come up with a dollar figure rather than piggybacking off of a previous recommendation,
No.
if you'd be so kind. Can you modify your recommendation, please?
I make a motion, we appropriate $2,588,048.
And we have a second?
Second it.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that the Warrant and Finance Committee recommends $2,588,048. And this is on the floor for discussion. Is there anything further we need to talk about this particular item beyond what has already happened at the workshops? Seeing nothing. All in favor of the motion to recommend $2,588,048, so signify. Is there a hand over there? Yeah, thank you. Unanimous. Article 3, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for special education. School committee recommends $1,056,036. Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we appropriate $1,056,036.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that this Warrant and Finance Committee recommend $1,056,036. And that's on the floor for discussion. I did have a few questions that we'll probably encounter at some point. Some of them are no longer valid based on what happened at the last meeting an hour ago. And some of them may be. Okay, so I'm still good for a bit. All right, is there any discussion of this particular? We're okay on this?
At our last meeting,
Yes.
it was mentioned, I just want to clarify this, that we might be able to reduce this amount, maybe by town meeting by approximately $70,000. Hopefully, if that comes to fruition, then at town meeting, the school committee will stand down and reduce that amount.
Just out of curiosity, no, so what Dennis is talking about is a line item in special ed administration, which is, no, wrong, excuse me,
Account 2,500.
2,500, yes. Oh, and actually it was tuition private schools? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, special placement.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was, it's an item of $178,880, which is the same amount that was funded last year, and there was discussion that that could be reduced by maybe $70,000 because of services that can now be offered in-house instead of having to go out for those services. And it was mentioned at the previous meeting that that may happen at town meeting.
Right.
Do you have a guess as to maybe the likelihood of that?
Not yet.
I don't know if, what that is about is that we're hoping that we'll be able to do some in-house placement of special needs children that usually cost us $35,000 approximately apiece to place in an outside situation. And we're hopeful with the new person that we have coming on board as the school psychologist, she also does a lot of programming for children that will be able to be, she'll be able to help us set up some programs that we'll be able to have in-house programs for some of those students.
So that is 2 kids theoretically?
That would be 2 children.
Thank you.
Whether or not we would know that by town meeting, though, possibly.
I'm gonna try my very best.
Okay, we'll certainly, we'd love to be able to do that, let's put it that way.
Right, I mean, that was one of the sales pitches for having the psychologists here,
Right.
day and a half a week.
So for this department, actually the special ed itself, there's, I think, 3 separate departments that are combined here, but then for the special ed, that's 1.93% increase as it is. It would certainly be a decrease if that 70,000 was removed. Just to go over the last couple, because I forgot about this. On the regular instruction, Article 2, that represents a 4.66% decrease in last year's budget. As far as that one item goes, the question number 2. And question 3 is a 2.68% increase from last year.
How much was that again?
2.68% increase. For the record, what I have here is a spreadsheet that's basically more or less a duplicate of the one Carlene was using at the last meeting. And I'm just essentially using it to proof the warrant as we're going through it and to dig up the detail as necessary.
What was that 2.68 on though?
That's a 2.68% increase for item 3, special education. It's combined of, I think, 3 departments. Last year was 1028487. This year is 1056036.
It's
So
1, 2, 3,
2.68.
4, 5, 6 different accounts.
6. Thank you. I was working on my faulty memory, so by all means, feel free to correct me where necessary.
That also includes gifted and talented.
Where is it? Right here, we've got the breakdown. Maybe I'll just.
Would you like me to
Right,
give you
1,
those
2,
now?
3, 4, 5, 6, thank you. Okay, any further discussion on this particular item? All in favor of the motion for the Warrant and Finance Committee to recommend $1,056,036, so signify. Unanimous? Article 4, to see which sum the Town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for career and technical education. School committee recommends 0. Looking for a motion on this.
Make a motion that we recommend 0 on this article.
It's been moved and seconded that Warrant and Finance Committee recommends $0 for this article. On the floor for discussion. Not a whole lot of discussion, I presume. Okay. All in favor of this motion to recommend $0, so signify. Unanimous? Article 5. To see what sum the Town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for other instruction. School committee recommends $44,451.
I make a motion we recommend $44,451.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that the Warrant and Finance Committee recommends expenditure of $44,451. This is on the floor for discussion. Article 5, I'm good with that one. Any discussion? Okay, Article 5. Let's see. Other instruction, this is going up 5.14%, this particular warrant question, up 5.14% from last year. All in favor of the motion to recommend $44,451, so signify. Thank you. Article 6. To see what sum the Town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for student and staff support. School committee recommends $368,717.
I make a motion we recommend $368,717.
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded to recommend $368,717. On the floor for discussion. Article 6, okay, so this one is up 19.31%. Now, just for a little balance here, the first one, which was down 4.6%, is a $2.5 million question. This particular one is $333,000, and it's going up 19%, so not to freak. There are compensations. 368717, Article 6. Okay, do I have anything left to go? Okay, so what was changed fairly recent here, that nurses' tuition line, expected tuition line did go down. I answered that question to my satisfaction.
Her tuition went down?
Well, there was a raise in the expected tuition line for this coming year, and it's been reduced to what it was last year. So effectively, the plans went down, but it's now level funded from last year, that tuition line. Okay, and then there was that,
There's equipment that's going up to about 2,500. That's a eye testing device called a fitness machine.
What do they test eyes here?
It's a requirement, hearing and vision.
where's my student and staff support? Okay, so there are actually 5 departments here. Any further questions? Hearing none. Yes? Don't want to rush you.
I was looking at the library really quick.
Yep.
Um,
Well, library, there was, the key change in the library is going from a librarian to a media specialist, and half the salary of the media specialist is now actually in a separate department, which we've already voted on, the technology department. Oh, excuse me, no, it's in the same article, sorry,
Next.
I misspoke. Oh, okay, it's right in here in the related tech. So related tech has the half of a media specialist, and the library has half of a media specialist. And the ed tech is half and half as well.
Yeah, group insurance is split as well.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. So the IT, what used to be the IT manager group insurance is now a little more than that, because now it's just called group insurance. Is there a way to break some of these out next year where we don't have breakouts this year? Like some of the staff support, there's multiple people, like in some cases we have a director and a support person.
Handbook 2R says we have to follow that breakdown.
So right now, what used to be IT manager group insurance is now group insurance that includes more than the IT manager, and that's what it's gonna be. Okay. Any other questions? So the motion on the floor is a recommendation of $373,365.
No.
Sorry, no,
No.
I'm looking at the wrong thing. Self-correcting. Motion of $368,717 for Article 6. All in favor, so signify. Unanimous, thank you. Article 7, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for system administration. School committee recommends $221,124. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion, we recommend 221,124.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend $221,124. That is on the floor for discussion.
Now, the pay increase percentage, that's adjusted into this figure from the 3% to the 5%.
There's no,
System administration.
system administration, you're talking about school administration, I think.
No?
System administration, it's a 3%.
Last week, when we had talked, there was a talk about changing
Changing it to 5%.
3 to 5%.
And in discussion at 5 o'clock, they decided to go to 3%.
So right now, in the line item for staff salaries, and excuse me, which one, are we talking school or system administration here?
System.
System, thank you. For staff salaries right now, I have an increase of 4.5%, but of course that may be deceptive because there's more than one person here. We have a director and a bookkeeper in that line. And right now it's a 4.5 from last year's budget item. From 75,140 to 78,521.
Some numbers there are wrong, Paul.
We had 77,394 for the fiscal year 14, if I understand correctly. That line should be 3%.
77.
Yeah, but
394?
77394.
Correct.
if you'd like to, hold on a sec, let me open up last year's budget. There it is. Okay, so fiscal year 13. School administration,
System administration.
System administration.
thank you. Just trying to see if you're paying attention. Nice to know that you are, because I certainly wasn't. System. Okay, the proposed for fiscal year 13 is 42,790.
What?
That's a superintendent's salary.
We're going the next one down.
Yeah.
Yep.
75,140 is what was actually on the budget
Yeah.
13.
Last year.
last year.
13.
Yep. So you're saying that you're not expecting to do 78,521 this year?
77,394.
Okay, so that's going to change all the numbers.
Wait a minute.
No, we include that, Article 7 was changed by that amount. That was the change we made for Article 7.
Going down to 221.
221, 124 is the current total I have for this department. Is that a correct one or not?
That's
That's
correct, it
correct.
was
That's-
218.
That's a correct
870.
one, and that's correct with
Okay,
the.
so
with
in
the
order to
change.
attain that figure, I have 78,521 in the proposed staff salaries.
No, it should be
77.
77,394.
Okay, so where else is that number coming out so that we get 221,124?
It should be that the original 218,870 plus the 2254 increase should give you the 221,124.
Okay, can we go over all of these line items, please?
Go ahead.
And this is in system admin. I got 42,790, and just humor me for the moment on the next one, which I have is 78,521. I have 1,400, 1,500, 1030, 9,800, 8550, 36,008, 15,000.
18.
18,000.
Okay. So we're reducing by 3,000 and increasing by 15,000?
Increasing by 3,000.
By 3,000.
Increase.
No, 13 to 18
That's
is what?
5,000.
The line
3,
had to be
4,
broken out.
5, 6, 7.
Okay.
That's primarily legal.
Okay, so I have 15,000 for other services, financial, and then I got 3,000 following it. Okay, so we disagree on two lines at this point, but they don't prove, correct?
Stop.
Is that a true statement?
You stopped at where?
I stopped at 15,000.
Professional services.
Line 3,000
Okay,
is 18,000.
18,000.
And we made that decision to increase it from the 13 to 18 for legal.
Okay, so
services.
kindly note that. All right? Next one I have is 3,000 for the other services audit. Then 6,300.
Wait a minute,
We don't have that.
something's missing here.
Well,
We
those two
don't-
numbers were combined.
Those two numbers
Okay.
are combined. The
So that
audit-
explains that. Okay, so let's throw that away. We're still trying to explain that 78,521. Okay? The maintenance of equipment, 6,300, and then 7,875. And then 3,000. And then 1,000. 1,500, excuse me, sorry, 150. Transposing zeros. 1,000. 1,500. 2,500 and 200. And I have a total of 221,124.
We have.
That's good.
Yeah, but that line item
We have a
is,
different
weight
number.
is different.
I know, but
Yeah,
we
but
can't.
you also have a different number on the,
No, the only other different number I had was the 15, but I have two line items for your one, which total up to 18. You had, it had been combined, and it was still separate on my sheet.
And it's a different number.
So if in fact your intention is to go 77 and change,
3% up.
I question
The total.
the total and all the other numbers that go into it. So I propose that we sort of screech to a halt here and just prove what your intentions are for this department before we move on. So we can at least have a recommendation that reflects what your intentions are.
We were trying to increase line 1180, this, from budget year FY 13, 75,140, increase that by 3%. So maybe we did the math wrong.
no, we didn't do the math wrong.
We did the math right. but
Well, the
wrong.
math may be right, but the total on this column is different from what
I'm checking
has
the
been
math.
publicized
Okay.
as of the last meeting. I'm,
You don't show,
I would say I'm more leaning to this total here than to the one that has been discussed.
Medicaid going in on that.
We're gonna find out in a minute.
Yeah.
When you increase,
It's in another formula here.
Kevin, are you recalculating?
I am. I gotta do it again, because this isn't the best, but I'm just recalculating the original numbers that were there, and I'm not getting 218,870. So, Paul, can you, tell me the number you had again in that,
Well, I'm
that-
starting on fiscal year 13, which is the current year, at 75,140.
And give me the fiscal 14.
The number that I have been given, I'm not saying that
No,
it's
I
what
hear you.
should be there, but the number I've been given that proves to the totals that we've been using is $78,521, and that is a 4.5% increase.
I think those numbers do add up, Paul. Because you have to take, you're talking about what?
Well, I'm comfortable with that
$11,000
number
difference.
adds up to the 221, but apparently the intended number there is something to reflect a 3%
So here's-
increase.
So, I redid the calculations.
Mhm.
What we have right now, basically the number that you have, Paul, does equal 218,870. So when it got reduced to the original 76267, which we moved to 77,394, the total did not change. So we were working off of an incorrect total there. So the 218,870 reflects the number Paul has for fiscal year 14. So we have to make a change.
218,870.
Correct. So if, basically,
So what number do you want there
we want, so do your calculations,
for
replace,
line 1180?
you want 77,394, and that'll come to a new total for that article.
Okay, 77394, that comes up to a 3% increase from 75,140. The new total that I have on this line, it's gonna be in this department, is 219,997.
Yes, that's
That's
the
what I
numbers
have too.
today. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
You could correct that on town floor.
It's to what?
219,997.
Well, all the rest of our
Oh,
things will have the right numbers.
Right.
So
219 what again?
219,997
Oh, the other number.
is my new grand total for
219,997.
department, for the system admin.
219.
So that's what we should.
Two-
Or what you
219.
could do
No,
is-
that's not what's gonna be on the warrant. That is on system admin.
But your recommendation can be 2,000, and then the
Okay,
numbers
so-
can change with the warrant and finance on those 14 and 15 articles, the number 14 and 15.
Yeah, right, it's only the one
So-
department here, so yeah, that should
But
be the
your
same one.
recommendation could,
So 7 now is coming out to 219,997.
And what,
219,997.
and what is line 1180?
1180,
Those are salaries for the,
change.
those are salaries for the finance director and the bookkeeper.
Yeah, and what is the new
What's the
total?
total?
77394.
7,
7394.
okay.
yes. And that is a 3% increase over the 75140 for the current fiscal year in progress.
Paul, I'd like to withdraw my recommendation.
Well, what we
Because
can-
of the accurate number.
What we can do is, we have a motion on the floor, we can modify the motion on the fly and kind of back out that way, okay? So, if you'd like, feel free to make a motion to modify the motion to,
I'll make a motion to modify the motion to the dollar amount.
actually amend the motion, 219,997 is the number.
I think we're overcomplicating it, Paul. I really do. I think just withdraw the motion and start over.
Go ahead, just amend the motion, please.
I make a motion that we amend the dollar amount
Yep,
to 219,997.
Seconded.
That was good.
it's been moved and seconded to amend the motion to 219,997. So let's just look at the actual numbers here now. So that is system admin number 7. So that is a 4.78% increase from last year's item 7 on the warrant. Is there any further discussion on this? Hearing none. All those in favor of amending the motion to 219,997, this is just to actually make the change. 219,997, so signify. Thank you. And now the actual amended motion, 219,997, to actually make that recommendation. All in favor, so signify. Thank you.
And what did you say?
4.78 from last year,
Make the motion.
over last year, 4.78. It should have been slightly more the first time I said it, because this is a slightly lower number.
Article.
Whatever that number was. Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Right. Article 8, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for school administration. Incidentally, both of those votes were unanimous. To authorize the school committee to expend for school administration, school committee recommends 170905. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we recommend 170905.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend 170905. This is on the floor for discussion. Article 8, System Admin. Okay, so that's, excuse me, school admin. Okay, there's only the one item the 170,905. And since we had some lovely results last time, let's go with this, just to quickly review a couple of the key line items. School admin, one thing that has changed since the last time we had a workshop is the principal salary. Somewhere I'll find this. Okay, and that is 5% increase from last year. And the FICA line got goosed slightly, the principal benefits. So the total increase from last year's school admin is 13.8%. For a total cost of $170,000 and change as reflected in this article here.
But most of that dollar amount is just group insurance, the majority of that amount.
What, the increase?
Yeah, you got $6,000 in
Yep.
one and, $19,000
Yeah, there's
in the
some,
other. $25,000.
yeah, the office manager group insurance went from $824 to $19,675, so that was a huge part of it. The office manager benefits went from $295 to $3,300, and I think both of those were a reflection of changing circumstances and
Change in personnel. We had our previous office manager did not take any insurance at all. So with the new office manager, she has a family plan, that's why.
so it's kind of a gut buster ultimately, unfortunately. The office manager's salary actually went down 18+%. So for that department, the effect was 13% increase. Unavoidable things.
That's still a pretty good rate of pay for a new person in the office.
Any further discussion? Okay, and I think that was the one, right, principal salary. Okay, I'm all discussioned out on this one. Any further? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to recommend $170,905, so signify. Unanimous?
Go with it. Okay.
Okay. Article 9. To see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for transportation and buses. And are we keeping the same
Same company.
verbiage on that? Dennis, looking for a motion on this? Oh, excuse me, sorry, I haven't even finished reading it. The school
No.
committee recommends $256,640.
I believe that the article, the wording was changed to student transportation, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So straight student transportation.
So you might want to redo it.
Yep, I will. Okay, so, and feel free to jump in. Based on corrections from the school committee meeting, the article now reads, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for student transportation. School committee recommends $256,640. Is that a good
Correct.
approximation? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
I make a motion to recommend $256,640.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend $256,640, and we have nothing to do with the actual wording there. That was previously changed, but it just isn't reflected on the copy that we have at this moment. It's on the floor for discussion.
Well, the contract's all done with that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's only the one department. And that is Article 9. So that is going up 2.89%. Last year was 249,000, this is 256. Actually, considering the way fuel prices are going, I'd call that a bit of a coup.
There's also a late bus run that's been added in there.
And that's probably what that is, theoretically. I mean,
The rates went up slightly with no fuel surcharge, which we were thankful for.
Again?
Again, no fuel surcharge, and the addition of a late bus.
just for the record, overall plan for the late bus in terms of monitoring and, I mean, we did talk about it, but
The
just
the late bus is gonna be monitored in the fall months to see how much use it gets, and we'll make a decision whether we'll continue that throughout the school year. If students continue to use it, because it was requested, if they continue to use it, then we'll keep it on for the entire year. If for some reason it's not being utilized, then we'll cut that run out.
and that's on a quarter-by-quarter basis.
Right.
Yep.
And the late
Because
bus.
things change, I mean,
The late
sports
bus
change.
delivers here to the school.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to recommend $256,640, so signify. Unanimous? Thank you. Article 10, to see which sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for facilities maintenance. School committee recommends $441,878.
I recommend $421,878.
It's 441.
441.
No,
No, he's
I said 421.
changing it.
So you,
It says 441 though.
I know.
Okay, so you are recommending, $421,878,
Right.
okay? Is there a second to that motion?
That's me.
The motion dies. Is there a new motion?
I give a motion for the 441,878.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend 441,878. The motion is on the floor for discussion. Holly, you have first dibs since you made the motion, but certainly we'll want to hear from Dennis.
I don't see any problem in the lines, so I feel like what's being asked for is legitimate.
Okay, thank you. Dennis? What is your rationale?
Well, we talked a little bit about it at the last meeting. Checking into contracting the cleaning out to be a savings. The truck usage, plowing the schoolyard, just makes no sense to me at all. You have a tractor that we paid quite a bit of money for that has an 8-foot plow on it. And if for some reason the school can't keep up with the tractor, the road commissioners in the past have always stepped in and helped out a little bit. Because the person basically, which I believe is you, Andy, you said it was anyway, is removing the snow is on salary. So if he's using the school's equipment, it doesn't matter if it takes him a half hour longer to do the job or not, opposed to paying extra for him to use his pickup. And then it costs the taxpayers more money. The contracted cleaning out, there's a lot of schools around that have gone to that. and saved a significant amount of money. And I just think that it should be looked at.
Okay, now, your initial motion was for $20,000 less than the total.
Yeah,
You have the account, the chart of accounts there? How did you want to allocate that? And what I'm proposing here is that we have an action item for the school committee to just, because we had already talked about the fact that there were some things that could be looked at. At this stage of the game, I'm not thinking that it's, there are too many unknowns to be changing horses in midstream. But if we can focus on a line item or two or an action item or two for
Sure.
those discussions to occur shortly after now,
yeah,
or at least before the next time we meet to talk about this, then we have a good chance of productively and without getting ourselves into trouble, possibly making reductions, or at least we'll be just talking about it. So which line items are we looking at here?
well, the salaries would be a huge savings if in fact, the research that I've done with other school departments, if this facility had the same savings, you could basically almost cut your nighttime custodial staff cost in half.
Okay, so we would have another line item here as well, though, presumably, right? Or no?
Would-
Like contracted,
Sure,
whatever those
contracted
services
service,
are, we're
sure.
talking about some kind of contracted service that
Sure.
we would be adding.
Yeah.
So,
Which is, we already have that line,
okay,
line 3,000.
so 3,000 building contracted services. So this
Right.
would be indoors as opposed to the grounds, correct?
Right, yeah.
But was one of your
Or both.
concerns snow blowing, though?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just isn't cost effective. I don't know, like I said, I don't know why we're paying somebody to come down here and use a truck when we've got the tractor. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, so the buildings contracted services, the grounds contracted services conceivably would go up, but the salary and related items like benefits would conceivably go down
So they
a
just-
lesser amount.
Oh, yeah, it'd be a
Excuse me.
lot less.
A greater amount than the contracted services would go up.
Oh, yeah.
Ergo your benefit,
Yeah.
correct?
I mean, they're saying, what the school committee has said all along is they figured $20,000 for medical insurance for one person. And that's $40,000 right there that we wouldn't be paying,
Okay.
just on medical insurance.
Well, that would depend on if they took the family plan or not. I mean, you can't.
No, I
That's
meant
like
contracting out the
otherwise.
work, Holly.
You just said medical insurance. Wouldn't it be $20,000?
Well,
if they took the
there
medical?
wouldn't be medical insurance that we would be paying out directly. It
Oh,
would
I
be
see
part of
what
the
you're saying.
contracted
Okay.
services.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So is that a reasonable line item or a discussion item for a future discussion for the next budget year?
Possibly. The use of the pickup truck is a year-round use, and it's used for taking recyclables to the dump, for going to town and picking up things, for going to get gas for the tractors. It's used for
We do a trip to Ruth's every year.
Ruth's recyclables. So the use of the pickup truck was suggested by someone last year to cover those expenses, and whatever plowing is done is included in that. There isn't any extra pay for plowing with the
I mean,
pickup.
when all gets down to it and the minutia are discussed, it may turn out to be less tenable than it may appear.
We
But-
don't wanna have to buy our own pickup. It's almost like we're borrowing, so in order to borrow, we're giving some money back.
This is not a mandate for change, it's a request for discussion of possible change. To honor a concern and discuss it in the proper forum, in the proper time.
We had looked into contracted services on the outside at one time, I forget how many years ago, but it was not cost effective.
Well, and you're right, Jeanette. I remember when we did it, and it wasn't. But since then, there's been quite a few schools, and they're still changing to it, contracted services, and they're finding out that they're saving a considerable amount of money.
Look into that again, yeah.
you know? Gorham's doing it. Gorham's done it for years. They, Brewer is doing it. I think Thornton Academy is, Yarmouth. There's a lot of schools that are doing it, and they found that there's been a considerable amount of savings. They don't have to, deal with the unions. And that's a big headache that, the school departments haven't had to deal with. In Yarmouth, I think it's Yarmouth. I can't remember now, Yarmouth or Falmouth. The school's a little bit smaller than this, not much. And they were planning on 2 nighttime custodians. And you know what the cost of the 2 custodians are. I mean, on average, I mean, it's a considerable amount of money. But they're getting that place clean. They went with contracted services, and it's cost them $38,000. And the square footage isn't much less than what this one is. It's doable, and circumstances are different, times are different, the cost of operating is different. 15 years ago, when we checked into that stuff, a lot of your support staff didn't even have medical insurance in this facility. You remember that very well, don't you, Ted? And, I mean, so everything's changed, and all the costs have changed. And I just think, in fairness, and it's nothing personal, it's nothing against anybody, but if your services are going to be the same, it's going to cost you less money, I don't see the harm in just checking into the possibility.
Right.
I guess I'm confused, Dennis, because I heard you make a motion for $20,000 less on the total
It failed.
operations and maintenance. I realized it
Yep.
failed. But then, when you had the chance to discuss it, you're going into salaries. So I'm not sure what you're talking about. Are you talking about the salaries, or are you talking about line items that equal up to $20,000? Because I want to clarify where you think that $20,000 should have been deducted
I was
from.
being conservative on the $20,000 to open the discussion.
So you didn't have any, number, you didn't have any particular line that you thought that $20,000 should come out? It's more for the salaries and not for anything particular on here? You just came up with that $20,000 just to be conservative?
Well, I mean, the new floor washer in there, we got $6,000 for a new floor washer. This is the 3rd floor washer that's been bought in the last 10 years. And for $5,000, I don't remember the exact amount that Andy said, but you can rebuild that floor washer for a lot less money than that, and there could be some savings there. I don't know, maybe they're buying the wrong equipment, but, it used to be if you bought something like that, you had a 5-year guarantee on the darn thing. And I don't know, there's just, it wouldn't be that hard to come up with $20,000 savings in that budget. It just would not be. That's how I feel about it.
Any further discussion?
So, just to clarify, so I understand, you decided to take $20,000 off just to open up the discussion table to look at the operations and maintenance budget?
What I'm saying is you could take $20,000 out of this budget this year and operate just fine.
But they could have done that out of any budget. That's why I'm wondering why you're,
Oh, I don't
why
think
it's
so.
this one.
I don't think so. Listening to discussions, I can't see
Then
taking
how-
$20,000 out of the
how do you
superintendent's
think-
budget or the principal's budget, or,
So then how do you think they can take it out of operation and maintenance?
I was just explaining some ways that you could save money.
All right.
I mean, if you want me to explain some more, Holly, I'm
No,
more than
I'm
willing
set.
to. I
I'm
just,
good.
I don't understand.
Well,
I'm good.
Okay, moving on. And thank you. for the discussion. I mean, we need to say what we need to say. Okay, going back to,
We asked for a little professionalism out of the audience, Mr. Chairman.
a little professionalism, I think, was had,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I think the last comment wasn't. Or
What's
at least
that?
keep the language good.
What's that?
What was that?
You're talking about moving on?
No, I'm talking about Mr. Cody and his comment.
Oh, well, I didn't hear it, so.
I did.
What did I say, Mr. Long? I would like.
Let's
I would
vote!
like that corrected, because I said
Damn
nothing
it.
to the man.
I wanna go
My
home.
goodness.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to recommend $441,878. All in favor, so signify. All against? Okay. We have 3-1. Article 11, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for debt service and other commitments. School committee recommends $0.
I recommend $0 for this article.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend $0. On the floor for discussion. I assume there is no discussion. All in favor, so signify. Dennis, you have a, okay, thank you. Unanimous. Article 12, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for all other expenditures. School committee recommends $135,481.
I recommend $135,481.
Do we have a second? It's been moved and seconded to recommend $135,481. It is on the floor for discussion.
They changed that to including nutrition.
So for all other expenditures, including nutrition?
Right.
Okay. So what's really on the floor here is just the dollar amount. The including nutrition part was already part of the article, just not reflected in what I read. Okay, so this is an increase of 2.74% over last year. Not much really there. Doing quite a bit with what we've got. Any discussion?
Can I ask a question?
Feel free.
Have you heard anything about getting less money from the feds on this?
No,
No? Okay. So it's not one of the things that's affected?
no.
Okay.
I think this is pretty, the cost of food is basically what's driven the overage.
All in favor of the motion to recommend $135,481, so signify. Thank you. 4-0. Okay, now we get into the fun stuff. Okay. To see what sum the municipality will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, $3,655,153. And to see what sum the municipality will raise as the municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding private education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20-A, Section 15688. School committee recommends $3,317,909.
I recommend $3,317,909.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to recommend $3,317,909. On the floor for discussion. Okay, so this is 13A. Total cost of funding,
What do you mean 13A, Paul?
3655, okay, so that is correct, 3655153. I agree with that one, 3317909. I just got them on my chart as A and B, there's two numbers here. Okay, so I concur with both of those. Neither of those are both from the state. Neither of those have changed as a result of the change to Article, what was it, 7, 6, whatever it was. It was Article 7 that we just changed. So these two numbers are the same. I agreed at the last meeting, and I still agree that that is the numbers we should be using. Any further discussion? Basically, those just come from the state website. Anybody can go to
It's all right.
www.maine.gov, anybody out there, and look up EPS and look up Acton, and you'll find those two numbers. Any further discussion? The motion to recommend $3,317,909 is on the floor. All in favor, so signify. Thank you. 4-0. Okay, Article 14, to see what sum the municipality will raise and appropriate in additional local funds. Recommend $1,443,127. That exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by $1,361,806, as required to fund the budget recommended by the school committee. The school committee recommends $1,443,127 for additional local funds and gives the following reason for exceeding the state's essential programs and services allocation model by $1,361,806. And I am amenable to waiving the rest of this reading if the group so feels. Hearing no objection, I will waive the rest. Okay, so we are looking for a motion for $2 amounts. Okay, so let's take them one at a time.
Motion what?
Well, we're going to be talking about $2 amounts in this article.
I don't see where,
Well, the school committee recommends.
oh yeah,
And then
where's the school
exceeding
committee recommends?
the second paragraph. It's the bottom paragraph on that page.
They're over here, huh?
We're right
Right
here.
here.
Yep.
Yeah, where's the school, oh, right there.
Yeah.
That's it, they
It's
didn't
a
put
little
line for
unorthodox.
us.
It's buried in the
Okay.
paragraph.
Yeah.
They didn't put a line for
Yep.
us, okay.
Okay? And then on the next line is the exceeding by so much. Okay, so there's
Okay.
$2 amounts there. So what I propose is we go with one at a time here. Let's make a motion. We're gonna need to amend, and we'll just do that, but let's get the ball rolling here. Because I'm also gonna wanna seek guidance as to proof of the number that I've got on this spreadsheet. So, Dennis, if you would be so kind as to,
You don't want me to do it because I'm gonna reduce it and they're not gonna second it,
do
so
you
it's a
know,
waste of
do you know
time.
how much you're gonna reduce it?
Let them do this one.
Okay. I'll go for a motion on this first number.
I make a motion that we recommend $1,361,806.
That's the second number. Can we go with the first one, please? On the first line? Of the second paragraph.
$1,443,127.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to recommend $1,443,127 for additional local funds in Article 14. On the floor for discussion. Carleen, do you actually have a number? I do have one.
Actually, Kevin just figured one out.
Okay?
$1,442,000.
Right.
That's what I have.
I love it when that matches.
How about that?
Okay. So
Line comes
I'm going to accept an amendment to the motion, and then we'll work our way backwards again.
What was the rest of the number, Paul?
1442000.
000.
Yeah.
It's a pretty number. 000. I can't see.
Should come up to subtract.
I'm still waiting for the amendment, yes.
You're gonna give it? I give a motion for an amended number of $1,442,000.
Do we have a second on that?
Yep, second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to amend the motion to $1,442,000, even. On the floor for discussion. I assume you're good with the number. I mean, that's what it is here. And actually, it's 1,442,000.13, but we're throwing away. We recognize we have no sense, so we're gonna reflect that. And that is up 14.3% from last year. Basically, this is a lot of funny money here, a lot of funny numbers. So 14A, and what we have here is our gross budget minus the anticipated revenues, and then minus the state-adjusted required local share. So some of it is real numbers, our gross budget, but the rest of it is essentially which comes from the state. And that is up 14.38% from last year. Any further discussion?
Shouldn't you amend both numbers in the?
Well, we're only doing one number at a time,
Okay.
so we'll move on to the second number in a moment. So the motion on the floor is to amend the motion to $1,442,000. All in favor of amending the motion, so signify. All opposed? Okay, so we have one in opposition. All right, so now we have a motion on the floor for $1,442,000. All those in favor of the amended motion of $1,442,000, so signify. 3, all opposed.
You just did
Dennis?
that.
No, we didn't. The first one was to change the
It's all right,
number.
It's okay, it's okay.
And then the second one was to accept the
You don't
number.
need to vote again. It's okay. I'm all set.
That's about as complicated as I get on this stuff. Okay, so then the second piece of this puzzle is the exceeding the state's essential programs and services allocation model by $1,361,806. And I'm gonna look for a motion for that number.
That changes too.
What was that number again?
Well, the number that's sitting here is $1,361,806.
One
That's
Want the
million.
new number
Why
first?
Would you
do
like
the-
the new number?
Yes.
The one I have is 1,360,679.
I got the same.
360,
Let's see,
679.
even doing
One,
it with pen and
360.
paper, I need a calculator.
679.
7.
So maybe we can get this done a little faster with a sneak preview. So I'm looking for a motion, please.
Well, I make a motion that we recommend 1,366,000.
No, just
60.
60. Just plain.
1,360,679.
36079.
1,360,679.
679. Okay, I got it.
What in the hell of a list?
So we'll assume that's the motion. Is there a second?
That's the motion.
And I second it.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to recommend for exceeding the EPS allocation model by $1,360,679 on the floor for discussion. And assuming that you'll be voting against this, Dennis, I'm just curious what number you would be coming up with, because I mean, this is the aggregate of all the other stuff, so.
So I appreciate that,
until
Paul,
we-
but if I believe that somewhere in these articles that it should be $20,000 less,
Mhm.
I can't vote and saying this is a number that I
Okay.
agree
So
with.
you don't know what the number is, but it's not this one.
It's $20,000 less.
Okay.
And the reason why I didn't make any recommendations to that amount, because in reality, it's foolish, because nobody's gonna second it anyway, and we're gonna have to start all over, so.
Okay.
I might as well just sit here and let somebody else do the talking.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to recommend exceeding EPS allocation model by $1,360,679. All in favor, so signify. All opposed? Okay, so 3-1.
One thing I will say, that doesn't come anywhere near being 55%. How does the state get away with it?
Same way they get away with everything else, Percy.
They've been getting away with it for quite a few years, and not only do they get away with it, but now they take more away from us.
Just like they say they have a balanced budget, but they owe the hospitals $1.5 million.
Oh, more than that?
Yeah.
Okay, Article 15. Article 15 summarizes the proposed school budget. To see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2013 and ending June 30, 2014, from the school department's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, non-state funded school construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20-A, Section 15690, unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the support of schools. School committee recommends $5,283,280. And in the explanation, there is that same dollar amount, talking about it being a summary article. So looking for a motion. And I'm not going to get it from my left.
I make the motion that we recommend $5,283,280.
I second.
Been moved and seconded
Did you go?
to recommend $5,283,280.
You gotta take that.
And yes, this will change. I'm sorry if I thought of it earlier. I have $5,282,153.
Right, that's what my pencil says. Keep going, yeah?
Read that over again, Paul.
5,282,153.
153.
And that is again is a reflection of the change from Article 7.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go run through the motions here. I need a motion to amend it.
Make a motion, we amend it to $5,282,153.
Thank
I
you.
second that amended motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend to $5,282,153. All in favor, so signify. All opposed? Thank you. Okay, the amended motion is $5,282,153. That happens to be 0.51% greater than last year's gross budget. Last year was 5,255 and change, and it's 5,282 and change. Is there any discussion about this? All in favor of the amended motion of $5,282,153, so signify. All opposed? Thank you. Okay, Articles 16 through 18 authorize expenditure of grants and other receipts. Article 16, shall the school committee be authorized to expend such other sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for school purposes, provided that such grants, programs, and other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not previously appropriated. School committee recommends adoption of the article.
I recommend adoption of the article.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend adoption of the article. On the floor for discussion. Now, yeah, I'm reasonably sure that we did have that one last year, did we not? That's a yearly special,
It's
yes?
in there every year.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we recommend adoption of the article. All in favor, so signify. Thank you. 4-0. Article 17, to see if the town of Acton will appropriate the receipt of certain federal and state grants and carry any previous balances for the following special revenue accounts. Title 1A, Title 2A, local entitlement and preschool. School committee recommends adoption of the article.
Recommend adoption of the article.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to recommend adoption of the article. On the floor for discussion. Are there any changes to these four from last year? All in favor of the proposal to recommend adoption of the article, so signify. Thank you. 4-0. And Article 18. To see if the town of Acton will vote to appropriate the following revenues, balances carried, and fund transfers to cover the expenditures appropriated in the previous articles. Remaining funding required to be raised by taxation. School undesignated fund balance, $120,000. School nutrition revenues, $65,000. Total, $185,000. School committee recommends adoption of the article.
I recommend adoption of the article.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend adoption of the article. Any discussion? Per the meeting that was held probably 2 hours ago now, the addition of $120,000 from the undesignated fund balance was added to offset taxes. So basically, that takes the slight increase of the gross budget, and that allows us to have a net budget that is fairly significantly lower than the last year's budget. So the gross budget actually went up by 0.5%. The net budget went down by slightly more than 2%, 2.19%. As a result of that contribution of funds. Any further discussion?
Yes, we still have to do that other article,
Well,
the
we need,
$10,000 capital
Capital
improvement.
improvement.
is that part of this article?
So it's part of the warrant, we're gonna be voting on it, and
Well, we're not gonna be voting on it unless it's sitting in front of us. Is there something in writing that we can look at?
Nope, it's not on the, we haven't put it on the warrant yet,
Okay.
so we won't be voting on that.
Can we vote on
April.
anything without actually having anything in front of us?
Can it be in handwriting?
Get a napkin.
So we'll be waiting on that till June then.
Yeah.
Pika before Comic Sans MS, I guess.
if we do it.
I'm gathering that it'll be,
In the June warrant.
we'll probably have no, I don't know. It probably can't go before the school warrant, correct? Or can something go, actually it can go before on the warrant, because it happened my first year. There was no warrant, finance committee recommendation on one of the budget items. So,
That's not a warrant article, though. If you don't vote on it by tomorrow night, have the article and vote on it by tomorrow night, then we can't vote on it on Thursday.
Okay, so
And
is
Thursday,
that
the
go-
warrant is done, so my suggestion is
Is that gonna go to
do what you did
the town
last
warrant?
year, the 10,000, put it in there.
Leave it
And then find
like
out for
you
next
did
year what
last
you need
year.
to do
I
to do
thought
it
that's
the other way.
what
'cause
you already
I'm
decided.
almost positive you won't be able to spend that money without asking the town's permission. That's kind of crazy to tie that 10,000.
Well, and the other thing is, the whole business about throwing the baby out with the bathwater, if it goes on this warrant and then the town votes no a week later, is that gonna go away as well? And I think it will. It's part of the whole budget, right?
Well, they can't put it on the warrant, Paul, unless they have another meeting.
Right.
Right.
They'd have
So-
to meet, you'd have to meet, and it has to be before
So
Thursday.
far, it's just been discussed, but it's not real yet, and it's gonna be maybe seen in June, not in March, not in April, excuse me.
Oh, there you go. If you decide to put it on June.
We still have this on the floor here, so, all discussion on this done?
Yes.
All in favor of the motion to recommend $185,000 as broken out as mentioned? So signify. Thank you. Okay, let's wind down here, one moment. Any questions from the public? Questions, comments?
I've got a comment for the warrant finance. Now that you're done with the school board, what we would like to do is what we did last year, have 2 nights where the charities come, joint meeting, warrant and finance selectmen, and one Saturday where we get all departments all done in one day. We go in at 9 o'clock and we stay until it's done.
So basically three meetings.
3 meetings, and we will let you know what those are Thursday night. We'll make a decision on Thursday and let you know. Hopefully, we'll have them all done by April, because our budget is ready to go.
See you then.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
And,
they're waiting to hear. I've had 2 or 3
school,
calls and asked me
school,
when the meeting's gonna be, you
Yeah,
know.
well, we were waiting until this was done before we started scheduling, because these guys had to be here.
When is town meeting, 24th?
No, no, third.
23rd. 23rd, 7 PM, Tuesday night. Be there, please. All right, this concludes the meeting, Warrant Finance Committee, 8:59.
Make the motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Thank you.